It's not on? Oh, much better. Thank you. I thought, but my voice is pretty loud. Would prevent the Department of Justice from using federal funds for litigation that affirms the denial of supplemental security income benefits based solely on residence in any territory or possession of the United States. The territories of the United States, their elected officials, a number of my colleagues in the House, bipartisan members of the House, the members of the territories delegation, which include both Democrats and Republicans, and the Committee on Natural Resources have urged the Department of Justice to withdraw itself from the case of the United States versus Vallejo Madero, where lower federal court rulings have already granted equal access to public services to citizens residing in the territories where further DOJ action is unwarranted. Unfortunately, our calls have fallen on deaf ears. DOJ continued use of separate but unequal doctrine of territorial residence established in the Plessy v. Ferguson era Insular Cases, which argued that the Constitution only partially applies in unincorporated territories of the United States, is alarming. While my colleagues and I recognize it is the role of the Department of Justice to defend federal statutes, the offensive and illogical arguments the DOJ has made for the second-class treatment of U.S. citizens residing in territories highlight why it is appropriate for DOJ to stop defending this ongoing discrimination, which harms U.S. citizens, veterans, young people, seniors in the territories every day. Several federal courts in recent years have ruled unconstitutional the arbitrary denial of SSI benefits based solely on residence in any of the U.S. territories. Unfortunately, the Department of Justice continues to seek to reverse these decisions. That is why Congress must now step in and act to deter DOJ from defending the challenged discrimination in Vallejo Madero and other pending cases that deny equal dignity to citizens in territories by excluding them from SSI benefits that all other Americans fully enjoy as part of our basic social contract. Americans living overseas receive these benefits. Americans simply by residing in a territory do not. As DOJ has done in the past with respect to other controversial discriminatory statutes, and as it has done recently with respect to a number of positions taken by DOJ during the prior administration, DOJ should inform the Supreme Court and lower courts that its position has changed with respect to federal statutes that continue to arbitrarily deny equal access. This amendment would make it so. Similarly, my second amendment, 111, would prevent DOJ from using federal funds for litigation that would affirm the Supreme Court's decision in 1901, commonly known as the Insular Cases, as valid law. The systemic discrimination against the 3.5 million Americans living in the U.S. territories, the vast majority of whom are racial or ethnic minorities, is rooted in a series of racist, I don't use that term lightly, but will explain why, racist cases of Plessy v. Ferguson era Supreme Court decisions known collectively as the Insular Cases, which establish a controversial legal doctrine of separate and unequal status for residents of the territories. The Insular Cases have been called, quote, central documents in the history of American racism, with justices in those cases calling the people of the newly acquired territories, quote, half civilized, quote, savage, quote, ignorant and lawless, and quote, alien races. That is the language of the Insular Cases. Irony, of course, is that they are talking about the same people, which include Alexander Hamilton, who wrote the Constitution that they are using. While in Vallejo Madero, DOJ has properly disclaimed that the Insular Cases limit the application of equal protection in the territories, it nonetheless still continues to embrace their flawed logic that the Constitution applies only in part in so-called unincorporated territories. These cases said that people living in the territories are uncivilized who cannot understand American constitutional law and therefore should not have the equal rights as other citizens. Ultimately, the ongoing discrimination against Americans in territories and federal benefit programs cannot be separated from the harmful legacy of the Insular Cases. DOJ's actions moving forward in Vallejo versus Madero and other pending cases will either serve to reject or contribute to that dark legacy. We simply cannot continue with the notion that American residents in U.S. territories are what the Insular Cases say those residents are. That is why my amendment would send the official message to DOJ that the Supreme Court decisions in the Insular Cases are not valid legal ground to stand on. I ask that you approve my amendments 109 and 111, and I'd happily answer any questions you may have. Thank you.